I'm sure that there are many people who are watching this, who are listening to this, that when I say these words will say to themselves, of course, that's familiar. I've seen that before. So here it is. Do not back up. Severe tire damage. Now, when we see that sign, we're forewarned that if we're going to go backwards, there are spikes that are going to go into our tires and we're toast. So usually we see this sign where an area of restriction, let's say a parking lot, where they want to make sure that we go in one direction, we're committed, and that we can't back up, we can't back out. So the Mechilta of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai explains that there was something peculiar and deep about the method by which HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to introduce himself to Moshe Rabbeinu. As we know, that Moshe was very engaged when he saw this sneh, he saw this bush, and it was burning, but but the bush was not being devoured. So Moshe said, Asura nava era, let me go over, let me see what's happening here. How is that possible? It defies the laws of nature. And of course, then Hashem begins speaking to Moshe. Why did Hashem choose a sneh? Why did Hashem choose a bush to first appear to Moshe? Why didn't Hashem choose some other method, some other area or type of nature to be able to first engage with Moshe? What was unique about this sneh, about this bush? And so the Mechilta explains as follows. In this bush, or in a bush, generally speaking, there are thorns. And he says that if you would take your hand and you'd want to place your hand into the bush, this bush had thorns which were facing down. So that you would put your hand into the bush, you would think, wow, that's smooth, that's easy. But once your hand was already in the bush, in order to pull your hand out, it would be impossible without being poked by all of these thorns. And so Hashem was saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe, you are going to be the one to take the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim, and I'm warning you that it's going to be challenging. Because it was easy for the Jewish people to go down to Mitzrayim. They went down because they were in need of food. And while they were there, they assimilated very easily. But to take them out is going to be a struggle. It's going to be difficult. And I'm going to be there with you, Hashem says to Moshe. But to take them out is going to be difficult on the physical level, to get power to let them go, but also on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, because there were things about Mitzrayim that the Jewish people really enjoyed. The Gashmias, the materialism of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, the Jewish people enjoyed, and Moshe is going to experience that later on in Sefer Shmos and beyond, when the people facing struggles in the Midbar would say to Moshe, why'd you take us out of Mitzrayim? It was so good there. Imagine. And so not only did Moshe have the challenge of taking the people physically out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, but Moshe also had the challenge of taking Mitzrayim, taking Egypt out of the people. How often in life do we find ourselves in situations where something seems easy, there's something that's attractive to us, there's something that we want to engage in, and we don't realize how much that impacts us on an emotional level or on a spiritual level to the negative. And only when we try to pull ourselves away do we realize, wow, I was really caught up in this. It's so hard for me to exist on a regular basis without it. And many of times, because we are so locked in, it feels that when we pull away, we're pulling our hand out of thorns and we feel the pain. The challenge is for us to be able to really see clearly before we put our hand in. Although something may seem appealing and easy when we put our hand in, we have to think about the bigger picture as to how it impacts us on a deeper level when we want to pull ourselves out. Moshe Rabbeinu was taught that lesson by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, by Hashem. He's given that warning, he's sent that message. And yet at the same time, Moshe is told by Hashem that he will be with him. And so too, even when we are in these places where we're stuck and we need to pull ourselves out, we have faith that Hashem understands our struggle and that he will be with us. And it might be that we get poked by thorns as we pull out of that situation. But yet we could have faith and hoping that Hashem understands our struggle and our plight. May we be zoche to try as best as we possibly can not to get ourselves stuck in a bush that we can't pull out without hurting ourselves. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.